who have questions, and I want to make sure that folks know that, the folks at the Northwest Film Forum will be loading in questions for us to look at. So if you have questions, let's go ahead and tee those up so that we can make sure that your voice gets heard as well as we kind of continue on into in this particular conversation. But Omari, I saw your mic was off. Do you have something?
Yeah, but I mean, Anthony kind of hit it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's been an experience out there where, I mean, even like I say, even right now, when we look at a lot of the protests, the protest leaders, at least like the Capitol Hill protests, and I mean, those are the protests that make the most news. When I say Capitol Hill, I'm kind of lumping a lot of people together. So, morning march, every day, and this and that. I mean, you see a lot of male leadership. You know what I'm saying? There's other things like in the community, and what's real interesting though is like, so in the South End though, it's a lot of big stuff happening. You got like Dom Davis and Willard Jimerson and Dre Franklin who lead a lot of stuff there in the Central District. White King and some Africa Town team and some stuff with like Nikita in the Central District. But Capitol Hill, those groups for the most part, and even the shelter, the shelter up there at Cal Anderson Park, again, you know what I'm saying? That's like non-traditional male movement. I'm sorry, I have all the terms down. So I'm just like non-traditional male or cis male, I think is what you said. So, I mean, we see it out there. Leadership's out there. And, I mean, for us, I mean, when it comes to telling a story, that doesn't impede me any kind of way. I'm not going up there to the shelter and be like, oh, is there a man I can talk to here? You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, okay, what's up? You the one with the story? Man, let's talk about it. So.
But that, it is the nature, and I know both of you all, the two filmmakers on the panel have seen that.
I know one other thing I wanted to call it, what it was disappointing as well. And I feel Anthony with that, is that like it wasn't a lot of us on Capitol Hill, like we as as Black men, speaking in a larger sense, we stayed away. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of different reasons though too. You know what I'm saying? Some people got some issues that a lot of other people up there at Capitol Hill didn't quite have, or a lot of worries that they didn't have, and also come from it's a mixture of things, but at the end of the day, we didn't see too many of ourselves up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no disrespect to our fellas at all. It wasn't so much that we weren't there because we didn't want to be there. We were doing things behind the scenes. The talented tenth of us, if you will, because we, realize, I'm not saying me, because there's still a long ways away, but like White King and Africa Town and Nikita Oliver, they had stuff and agendas before the George Floyd, right? Yeah. So what happened was the city came to them as a reaction to what's happening, and they were just ready with answers, and they just, in my opinion, were managing that, organizing from within, building their businesses. So when the city is like, what do we do? They already have the answers. So I feel like that was a good strategy on our part.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying, there's people working and everything, but I'm saying it's a lot of people, man, in the neighborhood, they ain't coming out there because, one, man, the police don't arrest the white people like they do Black people. Two, you know what I'm saying? What if somebody got warrant? Three, look at DOC out there with cameras. Four, I mean, there's hella different reasons. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's the people who are like, policy people, do the work people, but you find that a lot of us wasn't out there for other circumstances that the average white person doesn't necessarily have to consider. You see what I'm saying?
Is that what you're also finding with the morning marchers, y'all?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially for the brothers that want to come. It's like they got warrants or they got priors or they got other things to do, like family duties and everything like that. My favorite line is, "You can't pay the people." But I mean, as far as the the men's presence out here, you know, I feel like it's very important. We do need to be out here. I don't think that it should just be one gender ruling. I think it's an important with a teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
It's more powerful when it's a man and a woman versus just a man, or versus just a woman. That way, so. But I just don't know what's going on with my brothers right now. I can only speak for myself. I feel like I need to be out here supporting, protecting my sister. So here I am. You understand? I'm out here. You know, see me out there in the shop. You know, standing up for the sister and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I can't speak for so much of the other brothers. They're stuck in this world. They're stuck in this matrix. You call it.
I find it interesting because it's like the system. It's really crazy how the system has oppressed us so much that we can't even fight for our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like the system has oppressed us so much. Oh, I think you're muted.
I was just telling my husband, I'm doing something right now.
I'm dead. Don't interrupt. Black woman is speaking. No, I'm saying. But yeah, it's just interesting because we've been like the Black community's been oppressed so much that we're either one, not in Seattle to fight for the rights of Seattle, the Black lives in Seattle, because, you know, we've been pushed out of the CD and different things so much. And then also
we're making excuses, talking about, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. Or we're trying to, you know, retrace the steps of Martin Luther King or Malcolm X and stuff like that. Well, they did it like this. Well, they did it. Well, my brother, here we are, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're scared to go out there and fail, bro, well, you're gonna be in the same helpless position that you're in right now. You gotta get up and be willing to fall if you wanna, you know, if you dream of walking sometime, you know. So it's really that they're scared to come out and fail too. It's a lot of learned helplessness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
But it is true that that's very true, and it's also true that the police do target Black people way more at these protests. Yeah. So it's like they will go directly for the Black people, and so it is kind of a scary situation if you do have a record or anything like that, or just, you know, don't want to get arrested that day. You just never know. And then right now you just never know how the police are feeling that day. Are they going to react with just ticketing the drivers and following us around, or are they going to react with full-blown rubber bullets and batons to the back of the head? You just don't know what you're going to get with SPD. You just don't know.
And now they're arresting you, and when they arrest you, they'll take you in, and now they're even calling us terrorists. They're calling us domestic terrorists. So now this is another tactic of fascism. This is another tactic of the government trying to get people from out the streets, trying to get our men from out the streets. Because we know for a fact that, you know, we are the protectors we are the protectors. You know what I'm saying? Well, our strength is supposed to be there to protect. And this is why we're supposed to be, but these guys are fearing us. These guys are striking fear into a lot of the brothers out here in the South End, in the CD, the West Side, the North End. You know, it's scaring these guys. It's petrifying them to the point where they're stuck as couch potatoes.
Let's, you know, and I do want to lift up the notion of fear, particularly with the state, you know, particularly, you know, even with gender non-conforming people. It's like, I don't understand who you are by the way you look, and therefore I fear you, and therefore I am going to be aggressive to you. I am going to be violent with you because I fear you, because I don't understand you. Okay. There's a question here from, let's see, I think that's Jim.
Actually, I'm so sorry to interrupt, Karen. Before we get into questions,
sure.
I think Omari has got a time constraint and wanted to say.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks. If I just hop in here real quick. So yeah, unfortunately, my kids, the great grandmother passed away down here in South Carolina, and so I 2 days ago, so I raced down here. But so they're calling because, you know, family things, so I gotta go over there. But I just wanted to say that, you know, this was, and you gave me an option to cancel and everything else. And I was like, no, let me try to figure out a flight. Let me find a hotel on the side of the road that I can go to, because I think that it's important anytime somebody makes an effort for, for Black media to come together and for us to be in our space and a welcome space. You guys hear me probably talk here, like you don't hear me talk anywhere else, because I feel like I'm in my comfort zone with my brothers and sisters. You see what I'm saying? And that space means a lot to me, to the point that when we talked, I was like, I'm gonna find somewhere, looked on GPS or the route where I could get some kind of internet or whatever to do this, because these guys don't even have internet at their house. But I just wanted to, man, say thank you to everybody. I got hop real quick. Tack, I'll catch up with you. But like, man, to the morning marchers and everything else, you know what I'm saying? I don't see you guys a lot. I'm not out there on the street as much these days, but man, just know, man, that it's the commitment. It's the commitment, man. You know what I'm saying? Being out there every single day on something, it's the commitment that counts. So, you know what I'm saying? I honor your commitment, you know what I'm saying? And to everybody at Film Forum, just want to say thank you.
All right, don't forget to shout out Converge Media. Where can we find you?
Man, I thought you knew everywhere. Man, just it's Converge Media, on all social platforms, and Where We Converge is the website.
We are so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us, Omari. A love to your family, to the children. Send them our best, and send their grandmother to their home going in a beautiful way. We appreciate you.
All right, will do.
So now can we do questions now, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a question from Jim, who says, who doesn't seem to be listening to you? And how are other people seeing your reports?
I mean, for the morning march, okay, good one. No, we did. For the morning march, who doesn't seem to be listening to us?
The people who we stop in traffic. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Yeah, the people who we stop in traffic seem to be the most people who aren't listening to us, and a lot of white people, of course, are the most people that we stop and who aren't on our side. And just like a lot of our stuff then gets Katie, whatever her name is like literally obsessed with us. And so a lot of our things, get trolled off of our page and put onto hers and put onto all of these right-wing areas in which we just get trolled, and so they just don't listen to us.
Yeah, I like to respectfully defer. I see who doesn't listen to us a lot is our brothers and sisters. Those are the ones, and it hurts me a lot, and it irritates me at times, but I have to understand that they're in a different frame of mind than I am. So most of the times when we stop traffic, when we shut it down, you know what I'm saying? It's not white people coming up. It's white people on the freeways. You understand what I'm saying? On the freeways, it's the white people. But when we're in the state, when we're in like downtown Seattle and stuff like that, most of the times it's brothers and sisters who come up and they screaming and yelling, and they flailing their arms, and they're like, "No, you need to move." Even when we started, and they're like, "Yeah, Black Lives Matter, but you gotta get out of my way. I gotta get to work." Like, they saying that they understand what we're here for, but yet they're not listening to the message.
They're just trying to get to work, which is that kind of like almost kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of like slave complex. Like, get out of my way. I have to like get to work.
I gotta pick
and most of who's our bosses, there's not a lot of Black-owned businesses around here, especially in downtown Seattle. There's not any of those corporations down there are not going to be Black-owned, and so get out of my way. I know Black Lives Matter, but I'm trying to get to work for the man. To me, I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. We're trying, like, this is a time where you can sit back and relax and you have an excuse. But when it's an accident or something like that, it's no big deal. But when it's a protest because people are dying, last month, 8 Black people died at the hands of the police after George Floyd.
Ain't nobody mad about that? Ain't nobody saying nothing about that? Like, where
60,000 people than before? So it's
where's the justice?
Well, and I see a lot of the similarities between the disconnect that these people who are so eager to get to work seem to have, and then also certain neighborhoods, certain communities that are more affluent that we travel to. For instance, Ballard. will also meet us with more animosity. And I believe that what's occurring there is like a cognitive separation where they don't understand the scope of brutality that we're facing. And you find that within communities of African American and Black people who are well-to-do, who've sort of found a way to remove themselves from that head-on brutality, where they sort of adopt that similar mindset of, well, I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps and you all can too, and I didn't do it in this way, so you all are doing it the wrong way. And it's very discouraging, it's very saddening just to see that, as Freeman said, so many of our brothers and sisters are in that space, that mental and emotional space where they truly feel like they need to continue to be cogs in the machine, to the system, and that's how they were able to get themselves away from police brutality, as if any of us can actually escape it. It really needs to just be dismantled, and that's the way to get rid of it.
And you know, I remember like I'm very religious. You know, I remember reading in the Quran that that the shaitan he will threaten you with poverty and homelessness, you know, and bad health and stuff like that. He would threaten you with you, and he would provoke you to do sinful things, and he would provoke you to even partake in the sin. And to me, this whole system is sinful. You understand what I'm saying? And so, like, it hurts a lot to see a lot of these, to just see so many people wrapped up in their own world and not seeing what's going on within their own world. You know what I'm saying? All they're stuck on the fight or flight like phase of life. You understand what I'm saying? The base chakra. All they're worried about is eating, having sex, and seeing the next day, seeing the next sunrise. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hard to get to people who's in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
That's important documenting of the movement and featuring it to Anthony. It's important of the documenting of the movement so that the message can reach, you know, further out and reach more people.
You know, Anthony, you not only work, you know, behind the camera, but you also work behind the scenes, like I said, with the filmmakers of the African diaspora. You also are on the, you know, the equity team, you know, for the Seattle Film Commission. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, the color blindness or the blindness that you're even facing, even, you know, from a policy and an organizing standpoint?
Yeah, at that level, we had a number of talks before Mr. Floyd about race and equity in the industry and the struggles that Black folks, BIPOC, but my main, you know, focus is Black folks because I do have the Seattle filmmakers of the African Diaspora Group, and we've discussed the challenges they face on the production, and that conversation arrived with me as co-chair to the film task force. That was the first thing I talked about. It was in my essay. This is why you probably don't want me for the job. And it was about how I'm going to focus on race and equity and getting people of color, Black folks specifically, our group, 350 folks in Seattle that are filmmakers that are having a hard time getting legit positions. Yeah, we're good service. We can load film. We can work as assistants, but we can also direct, write, light, you know, and the whole nine. And so that group is hip to the game. They understand what's happening. They see it. They give me nothing but support. They donated money to the film. They donated crew, equipment, just all kinds of cool stuff so we can tell this story and get that voice out there a lot more. Folks on my Facebook page, just a wide assortment of folks that I'm starting to realize I don't even know. And that's how I'm filtering now, because I would do something simple, like post anything from these streams, not even of my own voice, and just watch as they come down at me. It's like, oh, like I've heard that. What was that? You know, Joe, you got to do is strap the boots up and get to work and do it like I did it. You know, and like that's why we're out here fighting, because that doesn't work for us. We got to do a lot more. We got to place up our boots, carry a sword, a shield, the word of God, and magic to get across the street.
This is so true, so
um,
true, so true.
so it certainly falls on deaf ears, and it's mostly folks who listen to the rhetoric of the news, mass media, their good Lord Trump, right? They listen to all that nonsense and they believe it, they absorb it, they become it. Some are already in that school of thought, and he's just driving with that. And it's those folks who will probably refuse still. I think I've touched a few folks who argue with me, because what I don't do is I don't delete people. Is I keep them on and we conversate, and until they either stop or we just keep on going. And some of them we come at an agreement somewhere in those conversations, because it's a debate. You know, race is a very touchy topic. Everybody has different perspectives. A lot of my arguments were with foreigners, and I say foreigners like folks who are not from America, from Europe, like Eastern Europe, who are in an oppressed society themselves, and are coming at me like, "That's not how you do it." It's like, maybe you should learn from us, you know, because this is working, and I would show all the results. You know, from all those daily marches, you also have a list of things that were accomplished within those times and are still being accomplished. Because as it goes on, they have to extend that list because it doesn't tackle the list that my film group came up with. Here are our challenges and here are our solutions. And so when you go to the streets with that, it's hard to ignore, especially when you've already been talking about it at a high level. And then you see what's happening on the street and they're like, oh, snap, Anthony, I think you're right. You know, even though it's been going on for 400 years, they just now figuring it out. So the media has been helping. And I mean, the streamers, the journalists, the marchers, the people are what's getting this voice out there, and it's amplifying it. The megaphone is the first step. Shout outs to Katie, master of the megaphone. Black Lives Matter. I'd be dreaming of that song like every night.
Yeah, Katie,
What is that?
we do have to shout you out for your megaphone skill.
Hey, she's coming. She comes up with all the best chants too. Is everybody?
Oh, is it Blueberry that's
yeah.
coming up with the chants?
Not all the
All of
chants,
them,
but
but
you know, it's a shared effort there. So yes, it is definitely, you know, like recently just kind of went on a side tangent, like Dow Constantine with that press release that he did, he totally like undermined the framework in which like organizations that have been working on things like No New Youth Jail have been doing for years, and you know, basically credited it to the movement that's going on now after George Floyd. And it's like, but wait, there's the only reason we have a plan is because of these organizations and the framework that they set up for us that are now taking it to the streets daily to just amplify that work that they're doing. And the work that Anthony and like Omari has been doing this whole time and spreading the stories so that people have something to go when they research, you know, the things that we talk about. There's, you know, documentaries and articles and things that have already been researched on and written. So we're not panicking now having to get all the information out. This work has been being done for years. So it's all to credit for everybody.
Yeah, sometimes I would sit sometimes with the morning marchers, they would sit and occupy a corner and just teach. And, you know, when I shoot, I sometimes like get comfortable. So I find myself at my knees listening to these powerful women in the spirit of the old Black Panthers and the spirit of the old freedom fighters, just preaching to the people. I'm learning new things like when I'm out there. And that's like the best part, because as I'm learning, my audience is learning too. And I look back and it's like, oh, I got 400 or 500 viewers, which means 400 or 500 people learn something new.
Yeah,
and it's going to spread because we're in the culture of sharing digitally.
It's very important to come out because, you know, a lot of times when we do things, it's just a snapshot of, you know, our shutdown, and it's just that moment in time, and people don't, that's what people think that we do. That's all they think we do. We're just out there to shut down the streets and we don't spread any knowledge or anything.
Right.
Whereas in most part, a majority, an hour and 50 minutes of our 2-hour march is just spreading knowledge, and only 8 minutes and 46 seconds is that shutdown. But the 8 minutes and 46 seconds and that anger that people get from that obstacle of getting to their work, for the man is all that is really focused on by the mainstream media. So it's very important to have those on the ground documentaries and on the ground live streamers and on the ground people like Anthony and Omari who come out every once in a while and spread the rest of that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shouts out to the documenting that's going on. It definitely carries movement. Otherwise it would just be all anger.
I want to
anger.
Sorry.
From people on the streets, just because that's what we run into.
People on the streets and also news. What I want to say about the news is that they mention the quote unquote the volatility of the protesters, and they're still stuck on the looting and rioting that occurred a while ago. And so they mention the volatility, but they never mention the volatility of the police, which is what birthed the very animosity that brings us to the streets. You know what I mean? There's no mention of that. And so along the lines of who is kind of not sharing the message the way that we feel is correctly, I would say mainstream media, largely. Mainstream media.
Mainstream media,
They
most
suck. They'll come
definitely.
out and pretend like they're gonna make a story that goes with your narrative. All of a sudden, you see it.
I'd sit right next to them. I'd stand right next to them while they're captured, and they tell me what the cool story they're going to tell is. Oh yeah, I'll be biased and all that jazz. And I see their report, and I'm just like, that mother. You know, just like, wow. And you know, you see, when I get home, like my dad doesn't use the internet, and so he's watching whatever he can reach, right? And it's freaking Fox because he knows I'm out there, and he's trying to figure out why I'm out there. And so I have to undo that damage by showing him clips of what happened that day, where Fox is like fire and brimstone, but it's like peaceful Chop. Where like the first few weeks of Chop were just amazing. It was like hands down, especially when the women came around for the leadership and started doing the screenings and the shows and the concerts. It was magic.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know what
bringing
happened,
culture.
except for
And
the
bringing
devil.
culture.
The devil don't like peace. The devil don't like peace. We see that, and they shut it down. And so, you know, so that did happen. But yeah, this has been a very powerful experience, and this is very historic. And I'm just happy to be a part of it, in the sense where I can be useful. Like,
Yeah, I
just
was
don't
going to
want to be
say,
in it. Like, that's
happy
why I
to
didn't
be
want
a
to be
part
out
of it.
there in the first place. I didn't want to be out there in the middle and risk my life and my freedoms for something that it seems like white folks are more upset about, according to what I saw in mass media at first. It took me to go out there to understand what's happening, and I did not want to leave, mostly because I realized like there were only like 3 or 4 black streamers, right? And I started to get concerned, like, who's telling this narrative? And I stepped back now, and there are only what? How many black streamers are out there right now?
There's only a few.
Right, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, and mostly it's because they are arresting or effing them up. They're breaking their cameras, they're macing their faces, they're traumatizing them with flashbangs. And so I felt compelled to keep going. I realized I was the only one. It started getting a little scary because I know they're targeting cam ops. And if I stayed out there, I'd probably look a little different, all beat up and scarred up.
Yeah, you got.
But my car died. Like, like God intervened with my life and pulled me back, and I had to step back. But I'm not done. This film is not done. I never intended to release it right away. It wasn't going to be an instant, "Ooh, look what I did." At first, it was. I got tear gas, and I had a revision it. It was always been about a film festival. At the end of the day, let's bring in the community. I want people who signed off to watch it first. I want the morning marchers to watch it first and say, yes, that's the narrative. I don't want to release anything that's going to piss people off or incriminate them, unless it's like conservative, right-wing folks. I mean, it's going to piss them off because I'm not going to be as objective as I thought I was. Turns out I'm a black man and I matter. And so many conversations I've had with folks made me more and more determined to tell this story in my voice. And I say my voice, I mean in the voice of black folks, because I won't be talking, I won't be in it. It's just interviews all day with the righteous people, with the end result that my grandmother can watch and say, thank you. That was a good film.
I would argue that it is remaining objective.
Yeah, well, I would,
What's that?
let's talk a little bit about, how, for the morning marches, how you feel that you're being represented out here in these streets and in this media.
I would say, I mean, rather, I mean, it depends. What happens is that the mass media, yeah, portrays our, only gets, that 8 minutes and 46 seconds. They don't get the minute, an hour and 50 minutes of the rest of our march, which is just all knowledge, all beauty, all spreading the word. We see like, we talk to the kids. We have them, we have everybody come on the mic. Music. It's just a whole experience that is really beautiful, but it's portrayed very, very negatively because of mass media, and then the reaction that we get by the immediate people who are stopped by some of the things that we do.
And look, we spoke to one of the reporters, one of the like one of the director reporters, right? Like he was a director reporter or some stuff like that. That was this is down at Seattle Space News. And he said that they only report chaos, or they only come out when there's a commotion amongst. So this is why I really have a stick to pull with mainstream media. I really don't like them, because it doesn't matter what you do. Because to be honest, the shutdowns we do, they're not dangerous, they're not hurting anybody, they're completely fine. They're PG-13 in my book. You understand what I'm saying? And then
And they're not, and they're not illegal.
The context.
They're legal. They are legal.
That's what I mean. They're not illegal. That means they're legal. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
totally legit on camera. They ain't breaking no laws.
And so,
what? Only law I saw broke was that canister that hit somebody in the freaking face on camera.
Come on, B. Like when we
I'm already knowing.
When we did I-90, they did they showed the freeway footage, and they showed like a footage from the freeway camera. And
you mean the surveillance?
The surveillance camera, right? And it was like the whole story was just the monsternizing us, or making us look like monsters, demonizing us. You understand what I'm saying? Making us look like domestic terrorists. You understand what I'm saying? And we even stopped and gave a message on the freeway before we walked off. Big signs. Why we're doing this? We're doing this for equitable justice. We're doing this for free schooling. We're doing this for free medical. We're doing this for ecological source and base power. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is what we're doing. We're doing this for George Floyd. We're doing this for Black lives. You know what I'm saying? Fuck 12. We don't do what they told us. You understand what I'm saying? Stop militarizing the police. They didn't mention a single point of that. Oh, these guys shut down. These guys shut down the freeway. Intimidated drivers. We're drivers. You understand what I'm saying?
We need intimidate. A lot of times people just
intimidate anyone.
A lot of times people just come up to us and then they instigate us, and it's like, whoa, and they talk about, the ambulance can't get through and things like that. Well, it's like, we do let ambulances through, and there's
2 incidences when we actually let ambulances slide right through.
Yeah. And if you come up to us and say, hey, I'm trying to get somewhere, I have a medical appointment, we do let you through. And people just like,
we only ever aim to inconvenience, never ever to cause harm. And there's a reaction to being inconvenienced from mostly white people that is as though they're being harmed.
Word is wrong.
You know what I mean? And what I'm hoping that documentation can do is to shed light on that, so that we can lift that veil. We can see side by side images of an unarmed Black person who is not doing anything illegal being brutalized by police, and then a white person who is being mildly inconvenienced. And we can see those reactions side by side. And it is my hope that will enlighten people who are upset about us being out here just spreading a message, and they can think, my goodness, why was I so upset at that? And why am I not so upset that Black people are being killed and enslaved? Think about what happens to the people who survive police brutality.
What? And and then when the media demonizes us like that in such a fashion, it gives these people justification on how they treat us, on why not to accept our message, which our message is, all humans, though we're not built equally, we should treat each other equally. We should have an equal respect for each other. You understand what I'm saying? We should have equity within. We should have equity within society to give us all the tools to succeed, just as the ones who are superior in stature, who are superior in charisma and stuff like that. Give us the same. You understand what I'm saying? And so, like, yeah.
Yeah, and how
So,
historically that hasn't been the
so
case.
let's get to these. I want to make sure that we get to these questions that folks are asking us, and I don't know if there are any more that are out there on the socials. But one of the questions is, in 30 years, I hope to be here in 30 years, by the way. In 30 years, when a new generation comes along to explore the history of now, what do you want them to know?
Oh, are you asking us?
Yeah,
In
what do you
30
want them
years,
to know about you and your role and this time?
I don't want anybody to know anything about me
Okay.
at all, or the Morning March. I don't care. All I want people to know is that the system that was oppressing and brutalizing Black people since the second that they were forced out of our home country, our home continent, is no longer, and that we have the equity and the equality that was promised, that was falsely promised from a time. I don't care if people know it was. I don't care how it gets done. I just need it to get done, and that's why we keep going every day.
Yeah. So
And I wish I had kept my.
I know. I wish I wore like a mask this whole time.
Yeah.
You know.
Something. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Blue.
Something that I feel like has worked to the detriment of past movements is upholding one specific leader. And rather than a diffuse leadership where the ideas are what are valued rather than the person sharing the ideas. Because when you have one person holding all that power and holding all that momentum, you can easily, if they fall, you can affect the movement much more deeply. And also, I don't believe that ego really has a place. What we want to create is not a story of ourselves, but rather a new normal for those kids.
Come on.
And I do have I listed some things that I would like to see for that community, hopefully. So I'd like to see community gardens. I'd like to see corporate retail food stores go out of business because they're ultimately not needed. I would like to see a society without armed, militarized terrorists running around masquerading as a protective force. I would like to see an education system which actively seeks out the best attributes of each student rather than actively trying to force each student to have identical attributes. And I would like to see a healthcare system that is not monetized for profit and a medicinal research program with full transparency so that companies cannot continue to profit off of the pain and suffering of people.
Yeah. And you know, in 30 years, I want these children to know that whatever they want to do, or whatever they want to learn, they can go and learn it for free. Whatever they want to go and eat, they can either go in their backyard or they have a local farm to go and pick it from. You know, I want them to know that they're safe within their community. I want them to know that they have all the chances and that their air is pure, and that their water is pure, and that they have support from a mother, father, or whatever the family structure may be. You understand what I'm saying? I want them to know that they're all right. You know, that's what I want them to know. I don't want them to know nothing about me. You know, I just want them to feel the fruits of my reap the fruits that I saw, of the seeds that I saw.
And on top of that, like for, not Black youth, for like white youth and every other, race out there, the truth of this country and the truth of, Black people and how we started not as slaves, as royalty, the whole truth of this country, so that we can actually start having conversations on how to actually move forward, not conversations on how to remain in denial. So that's like 30 years from now.
Fingers crossed.
It's just no more brutalizing on TV of any sort, from education, healthcare,
and no police. More acting like this is National Geographic and just watch somebody getting their head pushed in.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like for real, you see somebody getting beat up, like, yo, it's not the time, you have to save this person's life. You understand what I'm saying? Right. I've never been the one to just stand by and watch somebody get pumped. I've never been the one to just stand by and watch somebody get beat up or get brutalized or get treated in any type of unfair way. I've never been that guy. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm fighting. You feel me? So like, hopefully they know what to do in 30 years when they see something like that happening. You know?
This is not cultural tourism.
No, not at all.
Anthony, what do you want folks to, 30 years from now, the work of Anthony Tackett is seen how?
It will probably be digital implants, because in 30 years, technology is going to be so dope and scary. I mean, Elon Musk is already working on it, so don't act surprised. But really, in 30 years, I also want to have a positive outlook of how the world looks like in 30 years, where there are no injustices, and everyone's living in peace and just living their own dream, by working together and building a peaceful community. Self-sustained economics was my thing. In 30 years of that we would be those the high rises and corporations in which we don't like because of how they run the world, and they're corrupt. We put a little flavor in that big business, and we're totally capable, right? And so 30 years, I see that. And I think from my work, if you see something that I've done, say this film, I hope it's a reflection of how we got there, what we had to struggle and triumph through. The film's not done, so I can't really say if that's the case. But that's the positive outlook, that this film drives that conversation. We ain't done every day, right? And the year ain't over yet. We just rolling into fall. We just coming into fall, I'm getting my second win.
Really? Is that
absolutely?
Is that how it's feeling? That the work, of course, the work is not done, and you
it's just getting started. Like,
no.
I mean, not a single demand.
There's still much to do.
I mean, it's like,
oh yeah, it's a long road.
It feels like since we're so in it, we don't see any outside progress because we're just focused on, getting in there and getting the next distraction in there, getting our next word heard. You understand what I'm saying? And so like we don't see people actually. We don't see the conclusion of people actually pondering on the message that we bring to them. We don't see that, and so that's what I would really like to see that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do want to remind you. Okay, go ahead, Anthony, and then I have a comment for you.
Just to keep it 100, because I mean, it would be nice, but there's a lot of challenges. If it didn't work out, we would see a film like this as something as a guide, something that we can look at and say, wow, things have not changed. I look at the James Baldwin film, I'm Not Your Negro, and we look at that like, holy crap, things haven't changed. How long ago was that? 30 years ago, right? More or less. I may be wrong a little bit, maybe 40, 50 years, right? And so if this thing didn't work out, because we get so fixated with technology and these new cool implants and video games that we forget that stuff has not changed. We just became complacent. The drugs have changed. They've gotten stronger. The methods, the law enforcement gotten a little stronger. So we get complacent, we forget. So a film like this and other films will be constant reminders. That's the importance of storytelling, African storytelling, indigenous storytelling, is to guide the new generations into the next generations, and so on and so on. And so in the spirit of storytelling, that's going to be a part of that conversation. And I promise you, y'all, it will not be riot porn. Okay, it's not why I was out there for riot porn. Like, oh, he got hit. No, I wanted to always tell a story. I always wanted to interview you all. You all probably see me and probably write out my paperwork like, can I talk to you later? We're gonna do interviews, which I still want to do. Like, I still want to sit down with you all and maybe a studio like this and have that conversation. And I want to talk to Angela Davis. I want to talk to Cornel West. I want to talk to the Freedom Riders. We're already working on that. We're making a Southern tour, and we're going to go and talk and tell the story. It's not just going to be what happened in Seattle. Seattle is just the base. It's where it started, you can say. I mean, it didn't start here, but this is where things went down. but it's a backdrop to what's been going down beyond 400 years. And so it's much, much bigger story. I'm telling. It's going to take some time. In 30 years, it's going to be something to note.
You know, and Freeman, I do want to follow up on something that you said, was, you know, because you are, and all of you are in this work, sometimes it is hard to see people seeing you. And I want to let you know that we see you. And people like Angela Davis have shouted out this movement, have shouted out the young folks that are risking their lives out here in the streets in these COVID times. You know, people like Cornel West have shouted you out. We see you. And, you know, do not ever think that there is a day. And I think that is probably one of the things that draws you to this, is because there is not a day that goes by that somebody is not changed, that somebody is not transformed, that somebody is thinking even just one click differently because of the work that you're doing out there. You know, and as an elder, I'm just going to speak for myself and say, I see you out there. And I know there are hundreds, thousands globally. People are seeing this work, and this work is making a difference. You know, we talk about planting. Well, how does the proverb go? You plant a seed to grow a tree under which shade you may never feel. And that is the importance of the work that each of you all are doing right now. And if nobody says it to you, I just want to make sure that we get that on record. Let's see if we have any more questions, and then we have just a few seconds for final thoughts, and then we're going to say goodbye to everybody. I'll start with the morning marchers. Keep it short because we are at the 59 right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just thank you for the opportunity to come on and sit in the comfort of our home alone and not in the streets. It's really awesome to actually have a conversation, especially with other people who look like us, because again, Seattle is mostly white, so it's nice to talk with, you know, our people.
Yeah, I just want to give all the honor to God. You know, I just want to do that to all the people watching, and I'm sorry we didn't answer the question. So thank you guys for letting us get our piece across.
If we didn't answer your question, you can always reach out to us on Morning March on Instagram at Morning March at Marching Seattle, or marchingseattle@gmail.com is our email. So you can always reach us there.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us on the panel. I just want to share a quick quote from Angela Davis, my favorite. She says, "You have to act as though it were possible to radically change the world, and you have to do it all the time."
All the time.
All the time. Anthony?
I want to say thank you, first and foremost, to the morning marchers, all the marchers, the protesters, because without y'all, there will be no story. Like I said, I walked in objectively just to see what is happening and just show folks at the time, in the real time. And then it was like film festival. And so this has been a very powerful moment in history. They're calling it the world's largest protest, and we are at the forefront of it. I watched the interview with Angela Davis and Cornel West on different mediums talk about what's happening in Seattle and drew parallels. And that's what motivated me to keep telling the story, to show those parallels. And so I thank you all for keeping that going, keeping that energy up. It's contagious. Keep it going. Karen, shout outs to you. I enjoy watching your film series. You know, she sits us down and puts a film on, and we sit with amazing minds and just dissect the film. And that's always great. I hope
you,
you'll be
Anthony.
sensitive to my film.
Thank you,
so,
Anthony.
Yeah, of
and
course.
And
thank you all
everyone.
so much. I'm just happy to be here.
And thank everyone at the
Yeah,
Northwest
absolutely.
Film Forum, Local Sightings. Thank the Seattle Documentary Association for inviting us all to come and just be our natural selves. We really appreciate that. We hope you guys have taken away something relevant and important about this work. And Jonah, you can take us out. Thank you all, and we will see you in the streets. Anthony Tackett, what's your media? Where can we see you?
Oh, well, the fastest way to get to you without sending a link would be to go to check out Abstract Media on Facebook. That's the name of
Abstract Media
my
on
company.
Facebook.
Look up Anthony Tackett on Facebook. Abstract Media. I'm not public, so I'm vetting because there's some weirdos out there. But I'm pretty open. If you're down for the cause, if you're down for filmmaking, check me out. If you're interested in getting into this Seattle Filmmakers of the African Diaspora, it's a private and closed group, so you have to send me a message or find somebody who's within the group and it's closed and private for our, it's for us. I'm also yeah, I think Abstract Media. The name of the film is still, up in the air. We called it Black June because we thought June it was going to be all over. It's not. I've been trying to change the name since then, but once you pick a new URL, you kind of stuck with it.
There you
But you
go.
can find it through the page. I also want to add one thing. Northwest Film Forum has been one of our backers for this. They set us up. So if you want to donate to the film, check it out. They're also, they're offering some tax write-offs for the folks that are interested. So it's like a win-win. You get to help us out with this story and you help yourselves out so you can have a Merry Christmas. And so thank you, Northwest Film Forum. Shout outs.
Morning March Seattle on Instagram, northwestfilmforum.org, and morningmarchseattle@gmail.com.
Karen, thank you so much for hosting this. Thank you, Morning March and Anthony and Omari for joining us, and Elliot. This has been wonderful. I've been taking notes personally. This was really, really awesome. Thank you all so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
You're home.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you online.
I looks a little bit more comfortable than thoughts.
Yeah, a good couch. Grandma quilt. Anyways, you guys are all so wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jonah, and thanks to the Film Forum. Thank you, Karen.
All right, bye. I'm gonna end the meeting.
Thank you all. Take care.
Shut it down.